Welcome to a new way to level up in D&D. More classes, more customization, easier multi-classing. If you are looking for a fun twist to character progression, then you are looking for D&D skill trees. If you'd like to learn more, check the description. Otherwise, on to the video. Hello everyone and welcome back to another DST video. Today we'll be checking out the Artificer. This, of course, being the class all about building little trinkets, contraptions, and increasing the power level of either yourself or your teammates by infusing and enhancing the power of the items that you have at your access with a bunch of fun extra features that are not typically available to you as a player. Now, my Artificer works a little bit differently than the typical Artificer, but I think overall the changes will work positively for the Artificer power-wise, because I did think it was lacking in a few very distinct categories. But let's go over that. Of course, the Artificer won the vote this week, and if you want to vote on what you want to see next time, we will be, of course, having a vote at the end of the video like we always do. You can check the description where I link my Discord server where you can vote in the announcements tab there, or you can vote in the comments below. And if you're going to go down to the comments, you might as well give this video a like and subscribe for more, because I post these videos quite often. I want to get out all the classes as quickly as possible. And also in the description is a link to the Google Docs where I have every single one of these classes available for download and print for free. If you want to try any of these out yourself, go ahead. But let's head into the Artificer. With no more further ado, we can grab these starting benefits. Now, of course, they are a D8 hit dice character with Constitution as their major stat and Intelligence as their spellcasting stat, which notably Constitution is pretty important to them, and that is for the benefit of having not only high hit points and being able to kind of work on the front lines, but also there's a few features that reference your Constitution modifier for your infusions, which is important. The other stat that's going to be really important on Artificer is your proficiency bonus. Now, unlike Rogue and Wizard, you don't actually have any proficiency bonus maximum increases on the list itself, but of course you can always pick up Proficient as your feat choices, or even use your infusions to get those increases, and you'll see what I mean in a second. But let's start with the starting benefits. 8 plus your Constitution modifier in hit points, 1 hit dice, proficiency in light armor, simple weapons, and you'll get to choose 3 sets of tools, which is nice, intelligence and Constitution saving throws, those are pretty good, and you'll get to choose 2 from Arcana, Deception, History, Intimidation, Investigation, Nature, and Religion. And then on top of that, you also get an ability score improvement. So a really nice stacked starting benefits spread when we head into the other benefit of starting Artificer, which is infusions. Now, I'm going to preface this with the factoid that the infusions node here, the starting node for Artificer, is kind of a required node in the sense that you can't really use the push feat to pick up really strong attunement options on the Artificer without at least taking one node in Artificer, because in order to use any of the infusions, you need the infusions ability, which doesn't do anything on its own, but it facilitates the rest of your options later in the class. I did something similar for this with my shaman class, also allowing them to have double concentration on any spells they are using, but only after first picking up a different feature, meaning that not every class can just grant themselves that ability for free. And I do this for balancing purposes, but for now let me read infusions. It says that you can infuse items at the end of a long rest with special properties. The items infused must not be magical unless you have the jeweled infusions feature. Infusions can be used multiple times, but each item can only have 1 infusion, and you can only have up to your proficiency bonus infusions at any given time. When you infuse an item, it will be considered magical. So, this basically works exactly like the regular infusion system for Artificer, but on a slightly different axis, in the sense that basically you can have up to your proficiency bonus infusions at any given time. Obviously, if you infuse something and then change the infusion into something else, that one loses its properties. And overall, this is why the proficiency bonus is very important for the Artificer, because if you have a +4 proficiency bonus, that means you can have 4 infusions active at any given time. So keep that in mind when you're picking feats and how your background goes. But let's head into the feature that actually gives us something: Tinkering Magic. This says that you gain access to the Artificer spell list, a +1 to your caster level, and you learn 2 cantrips. You are also a spontaneous caster and will gain 4 known spells from any list you have access to. So just like some of the other casters we've talked about in the past, Artificers are not a full caster in the sense that they will not be getting a super high caster level, but they do get all the way to caster level 15, which means they can cast 7th level spells if they max their way there. And with the use of infusions or feats to help get them even higher, they could legitimately be a very strong force on the caster side of things, especially if they decide to spread all of their infusions onto their teammates and then stand at the back and cast spells. That is a viable playstyle for the Artificer. Now, of course, the Artificer is very versatile in the sense that they can be on the front lines, mid lines, back lines, really wherever you want to play your Artificer, you can find a niche for it. And the biggest part of that is because of how much customization you have access to with your infusions. And I'll talk about that after we get through this middle path, because we're going to start with the simpler Enhanced Item Infusion. Now, notably, the Enhanced Item, Featured Infusion, and Classic Infusion are the first 3 options you get for infusions, and you'll be able to get these right away. So if you are full class Artificer, all 3 of your nodes from level 1 are all put into Artificer, you will have access to at least one type of infusion. Enhanced Item is the most simple one. It says you may place this infusion on a spell focus, weapon, shield, or set of armor, or another item your DM allows. When that item is used, its user will get a +1 to the item's use. For example, a sword would get a +1 to attack rolls and damage rolls when using it. A spell focus would grant a +1 to spell attack rolls, and saving throw DC would be increased by +1 as well. And armor or shield would grant a +1 to the armor class of whoever's wearing or wielding the shield or armor. So basically it's a +1. Notably, does not require attunement. You can slap this sucker onto anything that if you have a few extra infusions available and you don't feel like using the more customizable options, Enhanced Item is a nice way to just get some +1s in some stats. After that, we can pick up a feat. This is a feat, and then we can grab Limited Infusions. This is very similar but slightly different to the Artificer Initiate feat, but notably you don't need to pick up Artificer Initiate if you have this, because I think this is actually stronger. It says that you can invest a spark of magic into a mundane item. This effect lasts until the end of your next long rest. The item can be granted a message, odor, non-verbal sound, light 10 feet bright or less, or text which activates or deactivates on a condition you set. And you can expend a spell slot to extend the duration for a number of days equal to the level of the spell expended. And if you expended a 5th level slot or higher, the effect is permanent, which is pretty cool. Now, this doesn't give you anything too powerful, but being able to basically grant a rock the ability to just make light and just make that effect permanent means that you can forever make and sell magical rock lights, which is pretty cool. After that, we can pick up a slightly better feature, Attune Up. Now you'll see the Artificer actually has 3 instances of the Attune Up feature, and these are super useful, especially on the Artificer. This gives you the ability to attune to 1 extra magic item. It's very simple, very straightforward, but this is huge when we get to see things like Soul of Artifice and Calamity Attunement later on. After that, we can pick up a proficiency bonus increase, and we can grab the final node on this middle path, Mind Sharpener. This is a very strong infusion and kind of the only reason that you would go down this path if not for the Attune Up and proficiency bonus that lay before it. This, of course, says that you can place this infusion on a set of armor or robes. The item will have 4 charges, and when the wearer fails a Constitution saving throw to maintain concentration on a spell, the wearer can use its reaction to expend one of the item's charges to succeed instead. The item regains 1d4 expended charges daily at dawn. Very nice. This is legendary resistance for concentration checks. I mean, basically that's it. I mean, it requires your reaction, but other than that, this doesn't even require attunement. So it's a really good infusion. And since you can put this on multiple people, it doesn't say like you can only put this on one item. You could make you and your wizard both have Mind Sharpener by just getting to this point and having at least a +2 to your proficiency bonus. And then let's head to the left side, the side that I would personally go to if I was playing an Artificer, starting with classic infusions. This is the most customizable of all the options and my favorite. It says that when you gain this feature, select a disconnected node from any class and note it down. This can now be used as a choice for your classic infusions. When you put this infusion on the item, select one of the nodes from your list. The item now requires attunement, and the wielder or wearer is treated as if they had the feature. If the feature requires any use of any kind of resource, like key points or sorcery points, the item will have charges equal to your intelligence modifier. That can be used in place of the regular resource that would be used. If the feature grants points, ignoring them and uses these charges instead. If the feature references stats, use your stats instead of the wielder's. This is important because if you give something like Spell Strike to your fighter, allowing them to use Magus abilities, it would still use your intelligence modifier for the statistics of that ability. And since your fighter probably dumped intelligence, your intelligence will be used instead, and it's going to be a lot higher given that it's your spell stat. But there is such a high myriad of options available to you using classic infusions. Stuff like +1 attack, extra attack, things like the crit range increase that barbarians get at high levels, or even something like a +2 max intelligence from the wizard tree. You can slap this onto an infusion and give yourself and your party mates wizard also that. Now both of you have an increase to your maximum intelligence score without having to put all those nodes through wizard to get there. It is a way to basically cheat and get to features that are available to high level play sooner, at the cost of having to manage the resource of your proficiency bonus and those infusions themselves. Now there's another problem that might be had later that we'll talk about also when it comes to attunements, but let's continue on with this side. Notably, classic infusion is seen here and here as well, because there's 3 instances of this, meaning that you can pick up to 3 disconnected nodes from any classes and have access to them in your infusions whenever you prepare them at the end of a long rest, or if you just keep them like I probably would. The preparation in order to play an Artificer might be a bit higher than some characters, but I think it's worth it in the long run because you basically get 3 extra instances of a max level push feat for just playing the Artificer themselves, which is so fun to me. Underneath this is a bit of a niche option that has a ton of really useful applications. This is tool expertise. It says that your proficiency bonus is now doubled for any ability check you make that uses your proficiency with a tool. Notably, only a 4-node requirement, so that if you wanted to play a full investigator and you dipped Artificer as like your subclass and picked this up, you would have expertise in every tool, which is like so useful. You're gonna be making all those checks with double proficiency bonus, which is awesome. Let's head down the leftmost path here. As you can see, the Artificer is kind of similar to the Paladin's layout in the sense that there's basically 3 sections, but each section is basically just a row of features. So on the leftmost path here, we can grab a +1 to our caster level, a +2 to our spells known, a +2 to our caster level, and we can grab our second instance of classic infusion, meaning we now have 2 different features to pick from any class. After that, we can get a +1 to our cantrip, a +1 to our proficiency bonus increase, which is super useful on Artificers especially because of how their infusion properties work. And after that, we can grab casting infusion. Now, casting infusion is going to have a few requirements that need to kind of be met before it really reaches its maximum potential, but it is super valuable. It says that an item with this infusion will have a number of charges equal to your intelligence modifier that are refreshed at the end of a long rest. When infusing the item, you can select up to your constitution modifier worth of levels of spells to add to the item. The wearer or wielder of the item from then on can use charges to cast spells from the item, pulling from the list of spells selected on infusion and spending charges equal to the spell's level. So that was a lot, but let me give an example. With a +4 in both intelligence and constitution, so you would be an 18 in both intelligence and constitution, and when you make this item, you could then select 2 second-level spells, or a third-level spell and a first-level spell, or 4 first-level spells, etc. Basically, adding all the spells that you're picking together, they need to equal the modifier or less. And then to cast a second-level spell in this manner, it would cost 2 charges because the level of that second-level spell is 2. If you're casting a 4th-level spell, it would cost all 4 charges. If you had a +5 modifier instead, you could have more. Basically, the concept behind it is that maxing out your intelligence and your constitution are really useful for this infusion in particular. Notably, this does not require attunement, but it also doesn't use your modifiers. So if you give this to your fighter and it has like Fireball in it, the DC isn't going to be as good as if you were to cast Fireball, because it's not going to be based off your intelligence, it'll be based off theirs, which is probably pretty low. That being said, putting something like Shield in this and handing it to your fighter, or even like your ranger or rogue, means that they can now cast Shield. And they just get a number of shield uses per day equal to your intelligence modifier, which is pretty good. Continuing on this leftmost path, we can pick up Repeating Shot. It says that you may place this infusion on a weapon. The weapon will then require attunement, and this magic weapon grants a +1 bonus to attack and damage rolls made with it when it's used to make a ranged attack. It ignores the loading property if it has it, and if the weapon lacks ammunition, it produces its own, automatically creating 1 piece of magic ammunition when the wielder makes a ranged attack with it, and the ammunition created by the weapon vanishes the instant after it hits or misses a target. A very fun feature, and especially useful on any of your teammates that might be wanting to use a crossbow. Let's head left next, where we pick up another Attune Up feature, and we can then pick up a +1 to our caster level. Followed by Soul of Artifice. This is a super fun feature, especially on a character that gets a Attune Up feature directly before it. Soul of Artifice says that you gain a bonus to all saving throws you make, equal to the number of items you are attuned to. By the end of your career, you could be making +6 to all your saving throws, which is huge. This puts the Artificer on par with the Monk for some of the best saving throw capabilities in the game. And following that, we can pick up a +3 caster, which is pretty nice on a caster that is overall a little slower in progression than other characters. Although they are able to catch up a bit with things like Classic Infusion, the overall increase over here with the +3 caster is pretty nice. We can then pick up another feat, and the third and final instance of Classic Infusion, which means we now have 3 different nodes from any classes that we have access to, which is pretty nice. A +2 to our known spells, an ability score improvement, and a feature that I hinted at earlier in the video, Jeweled Infusion. This is very simple but very powerful. It says that you can now add an infusion to an item that is already magical. Now, this does not get past the sense that you can still only have 1 infusion on any item, but it means that your rogue's Flame Tongue Dagger can also be a returning weapon, which is a different infusion that I'll be talking about later. But I mean, basically, any magic item you find while you're adventuring, you can slam Enhanced Item on top of, or Classic Infusion on top of, basically allowing you to customize every magic item you get even further beyond what it's already capable of. let's go to the right half of the Artificer, starting with Featured Infusion. This one says that when you gain this feature, select a feat and note it down. This can now be used as a choice for your featured infusions. When you put this infusion on an item, select one of the feats from your list, and the wielder or wearer is treated as if they had the feat. If the feat references stats, use your stats instead of the wielder's. So basically just allowing you to, again, customize your items a lot more variably with the ability to pick up any feat and just give it to any character whenever you feel like it, as long as you're willing to spend your proficiency bonus on that infusion for that time. Now, just like the classic infusion, there are multiple instances of this. There's another one right here, and Dual Fortune kind of does the same thing too, which I will explain when we get there. But first, I'm going to go down and pick up Homunculus Servant. This says that you have a small construct companion that can assist you with simple tasks. This construct has 1/5 of your max HP and can be rebuilt on a long rest if it perishes. Its stats are all 8 except for intelligence, which is 18. It has a 30 feet of movement, and it will act directly after you in combat and cannot attack, but will provide advantage on attacks against unfriendly creatures within 5 feet of itself. It can perform simple tasks like carrying small objects and retrieving materials from safe spaces. So if you want a little pet robot to hang out with you, pick up Homunculus Servant. If you want an even better pet robot, I would recommend just subclassing in Trainer and saying it's a robot instead of a beast. But of course, this is a simpler one-node dip to just pick up a little buddy. After that, I head down the leftmost path of the right branches, picking up an ability score improvement, a +1 to our cantrips, and featured infusion for the second time, allowing us to now pick a second feat to add to that list. We then get to pick up a +2 to our caster level. And before I go down this final section here to grab Dual Fortune, I'm going to pivot to the right and grab Repressed Attunement. This says that when you or a creature within 30 feet of you drops below 0 hit points, you can unattune to an item that you are attuned to, and if you do so, the creature instead drops to 1 hit point. This is huge, especially on a class that, like I said earlier, gets these attune-up features, allowing them to attune up to 6 items by the end of their career, meaning that 6 times per combat, as long as you are within 30 feet of, well, yourself, you're always within 30 feet of yourself, but your allies, they're just not going to die. You're just going to keep unattuning to items. Now, unattuning to items is a risky play to be making, because especially if you're like basing your entire game plan around classic infusion, unattuning to items will be removing some of your power. But if your classic infusions were instead handed out to your party mates, and you've attuned to a bunch of random garbage that you got off the shelves of your local like shopkeep that has like really boring but technically attuned items, this works pretty well as just a get out of jail free card 6 times per battle. After that, we can pick up a +2 spells known and grab Dual Fortune. Now, this one's pretty interesting. It works slightly differently to featured infusions, but it is on the same axis. It says that when you gain this feature, select 2 feats and note them down, with the others from the featured infusions list. You may only have 1 item infused in this manner at a time, and the item will require attunement, but you get to select 2 feats from the list that the item grants the benefits of both in the same manner as featured infusions. So basically what this is saying is, once you pick this up, you can only have 1 item infused with Dual Fortune. You can have as many as you want infused with featured infusions, but only one of them can be Dual Fortune infused, and Dual Fortune infused will require attunement, but that gets to be 2 different feats from your list of now 4 feat options. So very fun, very interesting, allowing for even more customization with feat choice, especially given that it gives you 2 other options that your featured infusions can later use. After that, we'll grab a +2 to our caster level, and we can pick up Returning Weapon. Another super classic one, this says that you may place this infusion on a weapon. That weapon will then require attunement, and the magic weapon grants a +1 bonus to attack and damage rolls made with it. It returns to the wielder's hand immediately after it is used to make a ranged attack. Pretty nice. Now, after that, we've got two different paths here, both of them kind of based off of the melee, Frontlines Artificer build, which is very viable in my system. We'll start with this middle one, grabbing a feat, our third and final Attune Up feature, another proficiency bonus increase, and then Bright Strikes. Now, this comes online a little bit late, and honestly, I can definitely see many people dipping Gish to pick this up instead of going this way, but Flash of Genius is also really good, so I can see grabbing this just to get Flash of Genius. It says that any item infused by you can allow the user to make their attack rolls using that item with intelligence instead of its normal attack stat. Pretty nice. This technically means you can give this to your investigator to help them make intelligence-based attacks, which is pretty cool. But in general, you'll probably be using this for your own weapon if you wanted to be a Gish Artificer. Flash of Genius says that you've gained the ability to come up with solutions under pressure. When you or another creature you can see within 30 feet of yourself makes an ability check or a saving throw, you can use your reaction to add your intelligence modifier to the roll. And you can use this feature a number of times equal to your constitution modifier, where you regain all expended uses when you finish a long rest. Super fun. And honestly, features like this are what makes, in my opinion, the Artificer one of, if not the strongest support class in the game. They don't necessarily have much healing, but being able to keep your allies alive by removing the damage before it happens by making them make their saving throw is, in my opinion, better than healing in the first place. But going down the final little path, we've got another +1 to our caster level, picking up extra attack at the same rate as fighter, which is pretty nice on a caster character that, 15 is pretty good caster level wise. We then get a +2 to our caster level, and we can grab Boost Item. This again is a little bit niche, but probably better if you are investing highly in Constitution. It says that you can use your reaction when an attack is made with any item infused by you. And when you do so, the attack gains a bonus to hit and damage equal to your Constitution modifier. So again, this is only once per round because you'll need your reaction to do so, unless you have a way to get extra reactions, which with Classic Infusion means that, picking up the Vanguard extra reaction every round feature is not hard. But basically, it's going to be doing a little extra damage and make your attacks or your teammates' attacks a little bit better. Then we can pick up a +2 to Spells Known and Calamity Attunement, which is definitely the Gish Artificer feature. It says the weapon attacks you make with infused weapons will deal additional damage equal to the amount of items you are attuned to. So this is basically a permanent +6 to damage as long as you're not using Repressed Attunement very often. So very nice damage increase for an Artificer. And I went through that pretty quickly. It is a spellcaster, so most of their features are going to be things like +2, +1, +3 caster levels and spells known. But in general, I am a huge fan of the Artificer. Fixing it made me, I think, love it more. And ever since I've been able to think of this, basically making the push feat be the class feature itself, I think I really enjoy that aspect of things like the Trainer, the Artificer, and the Manipulator. It gives a fun puzzle piece type build where you really want to look around at all of your party members and go, what is the one node from some random class that is most effective for all of us together? What is the one feature that I could give to me, my fighter, and my wizard that helps all three of us because I have a +3 to my proficiency bonus? Or maybe, I want to pick up a second Classic Infusion option so that I can pick these two features, give this one to my fighter, give this one to my wizard, and the last one I pick is just going to be like an enhanced item feature. There's a lot of spreading out, a lot of customization allowed that the Artificer can pick up, and I really just love the class in general. This like fully Tinker-esque build that really doesn't want to necessarily get on the combat, like the front lines, but if they decide they do want to actually get over there, they've got lots of options. They don't get heavy armor proficiency natively, but there's lots of ways to pick that up, either through classic infusion, featured infusion, or just like your feat choices in general, as you get a decent chunk of them. In general, I think the Artificer is really cool, but tell me what you think of it in the comments below. Otherwise, let's head into the votes for the next video. We are getting really low on remaining classes to check out, but I'll go over a few classics. We can check out either the Chieftain. This is the character that is all about psychically creating or manifesting this thought form that will follow you around, fight for you, and be able to stand by your side during anything that you might face. Or we could check out the Wizard. This is your classic full caster that is all in on spellcasting, using a very interesting form of spellcasting where rituals are a lot more effective, and you get a spellbook that floats by your side to help you cast your magnificently overpowered spells. Or checking out a different spellcaster, we've got the Oracle. This is honestly my favorite spellcasting class, all about draining the essence out of yourself, giving yourself levels of exhaustion to power out super high level spells like Fireball at 15th level. Again, you can vote in the comments below or in the Discord linked in the description below. But thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, I'd love it if you gave it a like. But I also hope that you have a wonderful rest of your day. Goodbye.